The following video is sponsored by AMD, Gigabyte, G.Skill, Samsung, Fractal Design, Western Digital, and Antec, all of whom have provided material and/or financial support to this production. We thank these companies for their support. Hey everybody, Jeff Campman here for the Tech Report, and today we're going to be surprising my buddy Dan with a much-needed PC upgrade. You see, Dan is a video editor by trade, and he helps another good friend of mine, Stephen George, produce content for his YouTube channels Stephen Plays with over 150,000 subscribers and Stephen Vlog with over 60,000 subscribers. There's just one problem though. Dan's editing system is a mid-2010 Mac Pro with a CPU and graphics card from, well, 2010, and they're really starting to show their age. Stephen tells me that it can take Dan's Mac Pro hours to export content that takes just minutes to finish on a recent MacBook Pro, and when he's not working, Dan's system can't ensure a fluid or smooth gaming experience when it can run the latest games at all. So long story short, it's well past time for Dan to get a new PC, and he's been shopping for a new iMac over the past couple of months. But since he uses the cross-platform Adobe Premiere Pro to edit videos, there's really no need for him to stay within the Apple ecosystem. And to drive that point home, I asked AMD, Gigabyte, G.Skill, Samsung, Fractal Design, Antec, and Western Digital to help me show Dan just how powerful a PC can be in 2018. Those companies all came through for us in a big way, and we'll discuss what they sent over in just a minute. But for now, it's time to load up our car and hit the road to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, so that we can surprise Dan with all of those parts in person. All right, everybody, we are packed up and ready to go, and we'll see you in Myrtle Beach in about 11.5 hours. Okay, so I lied. It took us more like 14 hours to get from Muncie to Myrtle Beach, but once we arrived and got a good night's sleep, we got everything set up for our big reveal. There was just one question left, though. Did we manage to keep everything a secret from Dan?
He's pulling in. Dan!
Hey, buddy.
Come on in.
What's happening?
A very important thing, and I am going to need your assistance with. Come on in. I want to show you something.
Should I take off my shoes?
Sure. No, don't. Come on. So this is what we're dealing with. This is what we got. All of these parts have been contributed by AMD and friends, which is pretty cool. Now the even cooler part is that they're for you.
What? What?
All of these parts have been contributed by all of these tech companies so you could have a computer. Now here's the thing. I do not have the ability to pull those sorts of strings. I'm not the guy that can do that sort of thing. So I had to enlist some help, and you may want to turn around.
What? What the crap are you guys doing? Oh my god.
How's it going?
What the crap?
I'm gonna be honest, this has been a real hard secret to keep. We've known about this for a while. But yeah.
Oh my god. Wow.
So
Hi. Thank you. Oh my god, that's a... Wow. That's... What?
We'll explain.
yeah, it's a pretty long story.
Oh
But yeah, Chaz and Jeff are here.
Hi. What's going on?
And and yeah, now you have a computer. So you're all set?
You will.
Well, yeah, it's got a...
This is only the first step on this journey.
Yeah.
But soon.
I can't even.
Yeah, we don't expect you to even. We kind of assumed that around this point you would not be able to even, and that's fine.
I was like, what is happening? Like, what's going on here? And then...
Well, you know, surprise.
Surprise. Wow. That's amazing.
Now that Dan has gotten over some of the initial shock, we're going to discuss some of the individual components that are going to go into his new PC. First up is AMD's Risin Predator 1950X CPU. This chip has 16 cores and 32 threads. They all run at a base clock of 3.4 gigahertz, and in lightly threaded workloads, they can clock all the way up to 4.2 gigahertz. So AMD also includes a couple of cool Threadripper stickers for Dan's case, a torque wrench so that we can install the CPU in the socket, and a liquid cooler bracket for the liquid cooler we'll be putting on top of the CPU. Next up we have Sapphires Radeon RX Vega 56 Nitro Plus Limited Edition. This card adds a beefy triple fan cooler to AMD's Radeon RX Vega GPU with RGB LED illumination on the front panel for coordination with the other RGB LEDs in our build. This card should provide fast and smooth gaming experiences for Dan and all of the titles we like to play with our circle of friends. And with software features like Radeon Relive and the Radeon Overlay, Dan can capture the highlights of his gaming experiences and stream to services like Twitch with just a couple of clicks. To host that CPU and graphics card, Gigabyte sent over one of its X399 Designaire EX motherboards. Gigabyte distributes the 60 PCI Express lanes from that CPU across 5 expansion slots and 3 M.2 slots for next generation storage. And with 10 USB ports on the back panel, twin gigabit Ethernet jacks, built-in wireless networking, a massive VRM heatsink, and an equally massive backplate, this board stands more than ready to serve as the foundation for our build. And it also came with this awesome sheet of stickers. To fill our motherboard's memory slots, G.Skill sent over a quad-channel kit of its Trident Z RGB RAM. With rated speeds of 3200 megatransfers per second and a cast latency of 14, this kit blends the high speeds and low latencies necessary to get the best performance out of Ryzen CPUs. In fact, this kit is even certified for use with a Ryzen Threadripper, so we can expect plug-and-play compatibility with our system's CPU. For our system drive, Samsung sent over one of its 960 EVO 1TB SSDs. This NVMe drive combines Samsung's 3D VNAND, an in-house Polaris controller with intelligent TurboWrite technology, and a copper heatsink label to prevent overheating, to provide world-beating performance for our operating system, applications, and critical files. For bulk storage, Western Digital sent over a pair of its 6TB RAID hard drives. With RAID optimized firmware, these drives are perfect fits for the RAID 1 array we're going to set up in our video editing build for long-term storage of important footage. To power all of those spiffy components, Antec sent over one of its high current gamer 850 watt power supplies. This 80 plus gold certified unit boasts high efficiency, a fluid dynamic bearing fan with a semi-passive mode for quiet operation, a fully modular design that will allow for clean cabling in our completed build, and a 10-year warranty for peace of mind. No system is complete without a case and CPU heatsink, and to keep our Ryzen Threadripper 1950X chilly, Fractal Design sent over one of its Celsius S36 360mm closed-loop liquid coolers. This system's ceramic pump is surrounded by sound dampening material for quiet operation, and its integrated PWM fan controller can quickly respond to changes in CPU temperature. Fractal Design's trio of dynamic X2 120mm fans have a 500 RPM to 2000 RPM speed range for silent operation at idle, and plenty of heat-removing power under load. And the system's expandable fittings mean you can plumb in other liquid cooling hardware as your cooling needs grow. To house all of those components, Fractal Design sent over one of its Define R6 cases. This brand new enclosure carries forward many of the features that have made the Define series famous while adding a ton of modern design touches. Those include a tempered glass side panel window, a full-length power supply shroud, a pop-out top panel with an optional dust filter that can be left in place, a removable top radiator mount for easy installation of liquid cooling hardware, and a modular hard drive mounting system that can hold as many as 6 3.5-inch devices or collapse into the motherboard tray for a sleek and seamless interior. sound dampening material on the left side panel, top panel, and inside the front door, plus a trio of Fractal Design Dynamic X2 140mm fans mean this case runs as quiet as it looks cool. So now we've built and thoroughly tested this system, and we just wanted to talk a little bit about what it means for the future of Steven's channel and Dan's editing.
It means a lot of good things.
Yeah. The fact that we, tested it and we were able to basically have rendered it in a quarter of the time that it has been is incredible.
It went fast.
Yeah. We rendered out one of the most recent Grand Theft Auto Online episodes, and it took a quarter of the time that it did on the Mac Pro.
It was also exciting to watch, which is a more visceral thing. Man, that thing's fast. Like, I in my mind, I was like, what's gonna take a second? And like, you were like barely moved, and it's like, Grr! But on Dan's old computer, like it's so old, it doesn't even render the preview screen.
Yeah, and so the fact that it was showing what frame it was at, like what portion of the video that was rendering, it was so fast, and so it was crazy. It was really exciting.
So yeah, when Steven has like 4K projects he wants to outsource to Dan in the future, they can actually do that now and have it be a productive exercise.
Which was an actual thing. Like, we've done a few 4K on the Mac Pro, and there was at least one project where Dan was like, it won't do.
Yeah.
And I was like, what does that mean? He's like...
it just like couldn't handle the project, and so I somehow figured out to get it working, but
you had to do workarounds.
Yeah, it was
when normally it should just be do.
Yeah, just render.
Yeah.
I mean, how many videos were you having Dan do?
On average, Dan produces like 10 to 12 a week, probably.
Yeah. And that was with his current setup. Do you expect that he'll be able to do more in the future then?
I expect that Dan will be able to do more, but also more importantly, he'll be able to do them with a faster turnaround time. Because right now, Dan basically has to get everything done before bed, because everything has to go overnight.
Yeah.
And sometimes it'll be late.
Or else it's just like part of the day wasted if I have to.
Yeah, because he can't use his computer, and his computer, it takes forever to do a thing. So
and it's so taxing on the system.
There's been times where I've brought over stuff and I'm like, I need this tomorrow, and with the new computer, he'll be able to just work on it the next day and be like, export, done.
Here it is.
Whereas before it was like, I have to stay up and get this done, because if I don't get it done, it won't have time to export because it's going to take all night.
Yeah.
And that's bad.
And it's interesting you bring up like how it takes over the whole system.
Yeah.
Like, I was watching like CPU utilization with the Premiere project, and it's only using like 60% of the available system resources. So it's possible you might be able to work on other things with this computer that you weren't able to work on, like with the Mac.
And that would be great.
It would be great.
Yeah, it would be fantastic. So you don't feel like you're at the mercy of your system.
Yeah.
Your system is at the mercy of you.
Threadripper. Threadripper.
Computers at the mercy of your threads.
And the other thing we tested was gaming performance, and for the nerds in the audience, the Mac Pro has a Radeon HD 5770 with a gig of video memory. One of the first DirectX 11 compatible graphics cards when it launched in 2009. Now it's yeah.
But now it is snicker, snicker, giggle.
We tested Grand Theft Auto Online, which is the game we most commonly play together and that Dan will most commonly play with us. And the frame rate doubled, but that doesn't capture like the whole magnitude of the experience. We were able to do maximum settings with Grand Theft Auto Online with the Radeon RX Vega 56 and get a doubling of frame rate, and it's a much smoother gameplay experience. The frame times are much more consistent.
It also doesn't look like garbage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The graphical corruption that was coming out of the old system with the settings Dan was using, it's unlike anything I've ever seen with a modern computer. It looked like Driver on the PlayStation. It looked like a PlayStation game.
I had never actually seen Dan's version. It's its own version of Grand Theft Auto Online, and to actually see that running was a little bewildering.
Yeah, I was kind of excited to show y'all.
Dan had told me in the past about it. He was like, yeah, sometimes in the distance it gets like a little weird. And that's as much as he said.
Yeah.
I was like, but to actually see it, I'm like, no, that's more than a little.
Yeah.
We were all like, it's broken.
Yeah, it's broken. Not okay.
Yeah.
So now that we have a working graphics card in the system, and not just working, but a great gameplay experience, Dan can use Radeon Relive to capture our hijinks and GTA Online and have like a second shooter perspective.
Yeah. That's actually a big deal, is that whenever we're shooting either Grand Theft Auto Online or any game, I'm the camera. You know, I'm capturing my screen and we're getting everyone's audio. But with Dan having such a modern rig, he can basically, if something cool is happening on his end, he can hit a button, and even if I'm not there in the game to see it, we can still get it and add it to the video. So this adds a lot. It's gonna be very helpful.
Yeah.
And I'm just also excited about the future. For any other new games that come out, I won't have to be worried about, you know, if my system will be able to handle it. And it's just a really exciting thing.
There's already been a few games that we tried to play, and Dan
And I just can't.
No, Dan installed them and hit play, and they were like, nope, don't think so. Just Cause 3 didn't work. Ghost Recon Wildlands.
Yeah, it wouldn't even open.
Yeah, the Mac Pro was like, no, that's... I'm good, thanks.
And Dan, if you want to hook up like a VR headset, like a Rift or a Vive, this system is totally ready for that as well. So
I'm super excited about that.
That would be neat.
So yeah, thank you AMD. Thank you to all the sponsors who contributed parts to make this happen. It's great, and this is a system for years to come.
Yeah, it's definitely a life changer. So thank you.
You guys are awesome. Thank you for not only making Dan's life better, but my life better. You have improved 2 lives so quickly and easily. Thank you.
If you want to learn how to build a PC just like Dan's, or you want to know the best upgrade path for your current system, head over to techreport.com, where we cover the latest news and write detailed reviews for the cutting edge in PC hardware. Thanks again for watching. Our thanks again to our sponsors, and thank you above all to Steven for allowing me to take over his channel. I'll see you in future episodes of Steven and Friends and on the Tech Report. Take care.